I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Alexander, let's focus in a little on Germany and Angela Merkel after the EU Parliament elections. Merkel is undergoing a bit of a hangover from a really, really rough night for her CDU-CSU coalition. Her power in Germany seems to have slipped. I'd even venture to say that she lost a lot of power to, God forbid, Emmanuel Macron, when looking at it from a pan-European level.
Yeah.
How would you describe Merkel's mood post-EU Parliament elections?
Well, can I do, since we're talking about Merkel's mood, there was an extraordinary article, which I think I sent you before we did this programme, which clearly originates from people close to Merkel, which has appeared in the German magazine Der Spiegel, and which can be found on Spiegel Online.
We'll put a link. We'll put a link in the description for that article.
In which, as I said, Merkel is full of end of days, philosophical musings, hand-wringing, struggling to come up with any coherent explanation of what her legacy for Germany is. And it all seems to me to point very much to a political leader who senses that her time basically is up, who has no real idea of how to take things forward, but who still finds it very difficult to let go. And here we see the reasons why she should be letting go, because in the European elections, her party, or rather her the bloc that she leads, the CDU, CSU, which has been on a steady downward slide for years now, it crashed to 29% of the vote. Now, that is unprecedented in German history. I mean, the CDU, CSU, historically always used to get around 40% of the vote. And in Germany, politics are very stable, and that, very rarely went down. And if it did go down, it never really went down below 40%. Now we're falling to 29%. And her coalition partner, the SPD, the oldest party in Germany, created in the 19th century, the party of Karl Marx at one time, of Rosa Luxemburg at other times, of Liebknecht, of Willy Brandt, of Helmut Schmidt, this most famous party in Germany, the origin party of European social democracy, is now 15% of the vote. And there is this continued slide, and I get the sense that Miss Merkel is extremely unhappy with the person that she anointed as her successor, and I always find it difficult to remember her name.
Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer. AKK is what she goes by.
AKK. Let's call her AKK. I think she's extremely unhappy with the impact AKK is having, which entirely predictably, and we predicted it on our videos, has failed to turn it round, because she is seen universally in Germany as Merkel Mark II, but not as good as the original Merkel. But at the same time, Merkel herself is not able to break with Merkel because she's been in power for so long. She's bereft of new ideas. She's not in a position to change her own policies. But at the same time, she finds it very difficult to let go, or to bring into the CDU and CSU other people who might be prepared to take Germany in other directions. So what we have is a state of decay. Now, I have consistently underestimated Merkel's ability to cling on. But I think what we're now going to see increasingly is disaffection within the CDU, CSU. As I said, Merkel herself is said to be dissatisfied with AKK, and I suspect others will be within the CDU, CSU also. But we're also going to be looking, I suspect, at growing unhappiness within the SPD, which, as I said, has crashed to 15% of the vote. because it's in coalition with Merkel. What it previously promised its supporters at the time of the last parliamentary elections, it wouldn't be, and which has now been overtaken in a national vote by the Green Party, which is outflanking it on the left. So I wonder for how much longer this grand coalition will hold together. And I question whether Merkel's position is sustainable any longer. So we'll just have to see how it turns out. But she is looking extremely weak to me. And when you said that she's in danger of being eclipsed by Macron, I agree, and we can discuss that shortly. But it seems to me that both at a pan-European level and at a German level, power is now visibly draining away.
Yeah, I would say that I definitely have the feeling after the Parliament, the EU Parliament elections. Yeah. I've got the hunch that Merkel just doesn't seem to be as prominent anymore. I mean, no. Even during the elections, no one really talked about her as much as they talked about Farage and Le Pen and even Macron and Salvini, Orban. It seems like, Merkel has definitely lost a lot of her luster.
Well, she has. I mean, from where she was the Queen of Europe a few years ago and was the dominant figure in Europe, who basically ran the EU and ran it, I think, extremely badly, by the way. I mean, the reason the EU is in crisis is because of her mismanagement of its affairs. But
she was a terrible manager. I mean,
she was a terrible manager.
It drives me crazy when you hear like mainstream media in the U.S. and the left say that a lot of the establishment left, that they say, oh, Merkel was an incredible manager and she was, she ran Europe so well. I'm like, she drove Europe into the ground.
Absolutely, she did. Absolutely, entirely agree with that. I mean, she took every possible crisis that exists within the EU and made it far worse. I mean, that is the legacy of Angela Merkel. She never really worked to solve problems. All she ever did was kick the can down the road so that the problems are now coming and rolling back and getting bigger. And that's also true, by the way, within Germany also. But that's the reality of Merkel. But you're quite right. She is being eclipsed. And she is being eclipsed on the right by people like Salvini and Orban, who are now forming this alliance, which is clearly, to a great extent, directed at blocking her legacy. But she is also being eclipsed as the champion of European integration by Emmanuel Macron, who, despite the fact that he came second in the EU Parliament elections within France, is now positioning himself increasingly with a bloc of MPs in the European Parliament as the leader of the European integrationists and as the hardliner, and who is challenging Merkel, as the leader of Europe, and is threatening to take away from Merkel's crown. So when she is faced with all of these challenges with no real answers, it's difficult to see how she can cling on. And it's a very, very bad testament of the state of German politics that she is being allowed to cling on.
Do you think that Angela Merkel should have stepped down as Chancellor the very same day that she removed herself as being the leader of the CDU, CSU coalition, the leader of her party, that she should have probably just removed herself completely from the political scene instead of kind of floating around, in Germany and in Europe? I mean, it seems that she's like this corpse that is just like, haunting the damn place.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I think. I would go further than that. I only think she should have stepped down after the parliamentary elections. When those parliamentary elections happened in 2017, in September 2017, it was very, very clear that the grand coalition that she was leading was bleeding support. It was losing support and had run out of ideas and answers. And she should have stepped down then. Instead, what she did was that she remained Chancellor of the same coalition. And the result is that we have in Germany a stagnation and a sense of drift which was already visible before the parliamentary election, but which has since that election got steadily worse. So problems are piling up and they're not being solved because, as you absolutely correctly stated, Germany is being led by a political corpse.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I mean, it really is a political corpse and nothing is getting
Absolutely.
done. And it seems to me that she's preventing other people, whether they're incompetent or not. I don't know AKK, she's a good leader. I don't know how competent she is. I really don't. Maybe our German viewers can chime in the comments down below.
Yeah.
But either way, it seems that by Merkel hanging around, she's not doing her own party any favors because, leadership can't emerge.
That's exactly correct. I mean, she is preventing leaders emerging. And AKK, who, as I said, she brought in to be her leader at some indeterminate point in the future, and as I said, is a clone of herself and is failing. So what Merkel needed to do was to remove herself from the scene and allow people within Germany who might have alternative ideas. And Germany is a big country. It's got lots of clever people. One of them to gradually find their way and move forward. I've never known anything like this before. I've followed German politics all my adult life. I remember Willy Brandt. I remember Helmut Schmidt. I remember Helmut Kohl. All of these were formidable political leaders in their different ways. I have never known a time when Germany has been as badly led as it is now, at precisely the moment when Germany and Europe need leadership from Germany most.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Well, let's see how, things shape up. I think one thing's for sure, that the tide is moving against Merkel, and it's moving more towards the Salvinis and the Orbáns of the world.
Absolutely. I entirely agree.
All right, Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Thank you very much, guys. If you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below. Click on the notifications bell to make sure you get notifications every time we push out a new video. Visit the Duran shop, pick up a t-shirt like the one that I have on right now, or you can get a great mug like the one that Alexander has somewhere floating around on his desk. There it is. Great mug.
It's a fantastic mug, incredibly well made, perfect for drinking coffee, tea, beer, whatever you want from it. And if you actually hold it, you know what a great piece of work it is.
All right. And what else do we have? Oh, don't forget you can download an ebook from the Duran shop as well. It's for all our Patreons and Subscribe Star members. We have that ebook on there for them to access it. For everyone else, you can get that ebook for $4.99. So the actual cost of a cup of coffee in London, I imagine, $4.99.
Absolutely. Well, cheaper. cheaper.
You
get an awful lot more from it.
You get a forward by you. You wrote the forward of the book, which covers the Brexit, 3 months of Brexit leading all the way up to the election. So I don't know if you want to, give a 10-second kind of pitch as to what your forward is about.
Absolutely, not just the forward, but the whole book, because, of course, what we have seen in Britain is a deteriorating political crisis, which has now come to the fore with the rise of the Brexit Party and of Nigel Farage as a result of the British political establishment's sabotage of Brexit. The Brexit that was voted for by the British people in a democratic referendum and which they were promised. Now, we at the Duran, Alex and I, we've charted the evolution of this crisis. We've explained how it came about. We predicted the rise of the Brexit Party. And in my foreword, I actually quote articles that we published on the Duran in which we predicted how the Brexit Party, or what became the Brexit Party, would arise. And I would strongly recommend to anybody who wants to understand the Brexit crisis this book, which I think anybody who reads it and who's followed our programs will agree sets out the prescient analysis we provided over many months.
All right. And of course, I mentioned Patreon and Subscribestar, so you can also donate to us on Patreon, Subscribestar, and PayPal. The links in the description box down below. And also go to Duran.com and see the articles that Alexander's looking up to every day. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Until next time, everybody. Take care.